Hi, this is Tara with Lift the Veil QHHT. Today I wanted to go into some detail about what my clients have been experiencing in regards to the new earth. So first of all, let's start off with explaining a little bit about what QHHT is. It stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis, and it was designed as a method to bring forth memories of past lives, to clear any wounds or karma or anything that has been accumulated from the past that is carried over into the present and that is affecting your well-being. So once the appropriate times and places have been viewed and released, we then call in your subconscious, or what many refer to as the higher self, the oversoul, the original source energy, basically just the all-knowing, ever-loving aspect of yourself. And from that point on, your higher self can provide healing. It can give you insight. It will tell you how to go forth with love and forgiveness. And yeah, it is probably the most beneficial thing you could do if you are one who is on the new earth path. My clients have made it very clear that in order to collectively manifest the new earth, we all must do the work. And I feel like a lot of the work is buried in the subconscious and needs to be brought forth to the conscious, and that's where QHHT comes in handy. So without further ado, let's talk about what clients are seeing there. So I am going to be talking about 5 different clients today, and lastly I will talk a little bit about myself, what I have experienced in my my own self-hypnosis journey to the new earth. Client number 1. So this client came to me because she has this very grand vision of what she wants for her life. And so we decided that we were going to take her into the future to see her greatest and highest potential. So this is my first client that ever went to the new earth. It was very exciting. She had never read any of Dolores Cannon's books. She didn't watch Allison Coe's video. If you don't know who Dolores Cannon is, she was the founder of QHHT. She talked a lot about the new earth, and Allison Coe is a fellow QHHT practitioner. She's beautiful and wonderful and vibrant, and if you haven't seen her videos, go check them out. She's great. So my clients have been corroborating a lot of the stuff that Allison Coe's clients have been seeing without ever having watched her videos. I think maybe a couple of them have, but the majority have not, never even heard of her. So she has trouble coming into the future, coming down, I guess. She was envisioning a mansion in the country and lots of land, and when I asked her to come down into this future version of herself, she is hesitant because she is looking at a treehouse, and that is not what she envisioned for her grand future. So I kept guiding her down. Finally, she came down. She said she was in a tropical jungle. She thought it looked a lot like Hawaii. Her home was this tree house, and I asked what she did with the majority of her time. She said she basically just enjoyed being in bliss. She loved to read, and so she had a huge collection of books, and she would read and be blissed out. And yeah, she said that for meal times, it was like a whole community would come together at this one big long table, and there would be music playing. They ate all kinds of different fruits, maybe a few nuts and stuff like that, but the vast majority of it was fruit that they ate. And she said she couldn't be happier. She could never imagine herself being as happy as she felt in that scene. She said that her body, she felt like she was older, like mentally, but looked younger. She felt extremely healthy and vibrant and was really loving her body. She also had a neighbor lady. She said that none of her family was there, but there was an older woman that lived nearby. And so we went and spoke with her. And I thought this was really interesting. The neighbor lady said that she had been there for 20 years. However, my client had just arrived there a couple years earlier. And she wasn't sure how she really got there. She just said that, my client said that she just desired it, and so she came there. And she never actually said that it was the new earth, but I mean, you know, it's 20 years in the future, but she looks younger than she does now, so I mean, that doesn't really make sense. And what we found out later, yeah, ties into that. So I wanted to find out more about how she got here. So I regressed her into the past to find out how she made that jump. And so she was back in 3D Earth, you know, looked how she does, only her son, who is 4 years old now, was had left the home and had started his own business. So was probably mid-20s. She realized that he no longer needed her there, and so she just desired to move on, and so she did. So I thought that was really interesting because the neighbor lady had been there for 20 years, and her son was 20 years older when my client's son was 20 years older when she made the transition. So it seems like this event, or whatever it is that sparked this transition into the new earth, happened in our not so distant future. Okay, so take what you want from that. I thought that was really interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, she just said, we asked, what can she do now in her current life to embody this greatest and highest potential that she was seeing? And her higher self told her that she needed to take care of herself better. She needed to care about herself and love herself more. And that was basically really all it said, that she needed to just find an unconditional love for herself. So then client number 2, she comes down and sees, she said it was like a garden. There was flowers everywhere, butterflies, birds. She said there was a small waterfall nearby, lots of trees, very lush, very green. Let's see. When she came down, she was alone, but she knew that her family was near, and she was barefoot. Client number 1 was barefoot too. Client number 2 was barefoot. She said that her skin was much lighter than it is now, like it almost glowed. It almost had kind of a translucent quality, not like it was clear, but just that it was just a lot more light, and it kind of almost glowed. And she said everything was sparkly, everything emitted light. It was very light infused. She said she was kind of wearing a toga-like gown. She said she felt very healthy and very young. Even though she looked about the same, she felt younger. Her hair was more golden, and her home, and I thought this was really cool, her home was like a Victorian looking house at the base, but like it had a tree that had grown up around it, and she lived like up in the tree. So you would enter the Victorian house front, and then it's like her and her family were living inside of the tree. And we came to find out that her husband was there with her, and this woman has one son now who is also 4 years old, and she had had 3 miscarriages in the past, and she come to see that her 3 babies were there with her as well, and they were children. She said that none of them were over the age of probably 7, so they were all very young, and yeah, she was just so happy to see her babies again. Uh, um, let's see here, what else? I asked where they had a meal, and she said it was a big long table, and the whole community would come together, and they would feast, and sorry. She said that they grew their own food. They ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, but they would never take anything that couldn't let's see, what's the word that I'm looking here for? They would never take anything that couldn't renew itself. So, for example, they would never cut down a tree, but or take an animal's life. She said they did not eat animals whatsoever. They had a very mutual respect for animals and animals for them, and they could communicate with animals telepathically, but she said that it wasn't they didn't so much have thoughts the same way we do. It was more feeling. Like she was watching a deer drinking out of a stream, and she was sitting right by it, and she just was overwhelmed with the feeling of peace coming from this deer. So yeah, just you know, they would grow gardens and eat the fruits and vegetables as long as the plant could renew itself. So I think that would probably exclude like root vegetables and things of that nature. She said there was music emanating from everywhere. She always heard music, and people could create music, but she didn't see any instruments. And she said it was almost as though she could hear the song of the earth. The trees made music and the flowers, and it was just like this most beautiful, she said it was like a storybook. Let's see here. She said that there was no worry at all. The children were very, very safe, and they could just play and be in their element and be in nature, and they just laughed all the time and were so happy, and people were connected to each other, and they were kind, and there was no judgments, and everyone held a more complete love for everyone, not just for their children or their family. It was a very communal thing. And she said there wasn't really a whole lot of people, but there were communities that would come together in celebration, and but everybody kind of had their own space and lived, you know, kind of in their own area. I asked how she traveled. She said they fly, and she was looking over the land as she flew, and she said that it was all of the most beautiful things she's ever. Yeah. So anyway, so I asked what this woman does with the majority of her time. She loves to paint. She said she would paint and play with the children and listen to their laughter from her art studio. And she said she just spent a lot of time just being in bliss, which is the exact same thing client number 1 said too. And her husband was there with her. Her husband said when I asked about him, she said he looked younger. He was more vibrant. He didn't have the worry and the fear that he holds now. He was just much more carefree and just embodying more his true self. So she was really excited to see that. We asked her husband how they had gotten there, and he said that it was like he woke up from a dream one day, it was like he woke up into a dream, and the dream just never ended. And so we went back to see what had happened to spark that dream, and she just said it was the natural cycle of things. The earth just kind of, the 3D reality just kind of kept spiraling down and down and down, and then eventually one day it just kind of popped, and we woke up into a new earth dream. And that's pretty much it for client 2. Client number 3 was a woman that came to me who had never heard Dolores Cannon, never heard of Alice and Co. or any of that, but she was very much into Native American wisdom. And so, you know, really resonated with animal medicine, the wisdom that animals can share with us. So her and I had a lot in common. We had a lot to talk about. It was cool. But so she came down as a mermaid. She was a mermaid in the water, and she said that they just, you know, just existed, and they didn't have to eat. They would absorb their nutrients from the water. So I thought that was really cool. But anyway, she said her favorite thing to do was communicate with whales. And so we went and talked to some whales, and they are the record keepers for everything that has ever happened to Earth, and they understand the planetary cycles of things. And so we went and found out what Earth used to be like. She said it was truly the Garden of Eden. It was heaven on earth. Everyone lived in harmony. We spent our time in bliss. We didn't need to eat if we didn't want to, but what we did, we ate things that could renew themselves, like fruit. We spoke telepathically. We could teleport, travel effortlessly. Let's see what else. Yeah, she just said we were just in a complete state of paradise. It was heaven on earth. And then she said that there was a fall happened, or the whale told her that the fall happened, something dark descended on earth. And at that point, humans went into duality and confusion and disharmony. They forgot who they were, they forgot their abilities, and they forgot how to live in harmony with nature. And so as we talked with the whale, we came to realize that that is exactly what we are headed back to now, is the Garden of Eden. The whale said this is just how the cycle of things work, that we live in a state of bliss, and then we fall, and then we ascend again. And we asked how long this was going to take, and the whale said very, very, very soon. He said their idea of time, or the way that they perceived time, was much different than the way of humans, but that we would be living in heaven on earth once again in the Garden of Eden in my client's lifetime. She was in her late 60s, and so soon, very soon. Let's see, client number 4 was a woman who I had seen her before. We've worked with each other quite a few times, actually, and so we were really comfortable with each other. And when she came down, this was the first time she had come down. She came down into New Earth. However, when she came down, she was standing on the beach of a lake. Her family was surrounding her, most of her family. There were a couple family members that weren't there. She recognized a couple of other people that she had met throughout her life. And then she said that was kind of our transition point. We popped into that. We all kind of oriented ourselves there. And then she said we started celebrating, and everybody, it was just like this huge party where we were all just so happy to be there. And I say we because she said she saw me there too. But so she said it was just absolutely beautiful, and she was just had tears of joy streaming down her face. So there was one person that she was concerned that she didn't see there, and we found out later from her higher self that it just wasn't time. Like the client number 1, that once she was ready, once it was time, and she had the desire to go, that she would. And so we went on to find out where client number 4 spent the majority of her time. I asked where she lived. She said she didn't live anywhere. She lived everywhere. She slept, and she said it was very tropical too. It was like a jungle. She said she slept on the forest floor or in a hammock. She just didn't really feel the need to be tied to any one particular place. So she would travel. She loved spending her time. This is really interesting. She said there was like a really special garden area that was filled with flowers, and it's where women would go to birth their babies. And so we talked about the birthing process of the new earth, and she said that it was happened basically the same way that it does here. However, there was no pain, there was no blood. It was a very joyful, blissful experience, and it's like the baby would just kind of slip into the world, and so she would lend her energy to that. She didn't really do anything in particular. She just had a very peaceful, calming, loving energy, and that helped the mothers. So she would be in this birthing garden with them during that time, just to be present and to lend her energy. She said she didn't need to eat. She could if she desired it, but oh, this flies liking me right now. Shoe fly. So anyway, she would just spend her time being blissful and doing whatever she felt like doing. So then client number 5 was the person that client number 4 was concerned about not seeing in the new earth. And so client number 5 wanted to see her greatest and highest potential as well. So we progressed her into the future, and she was still in 3D Earth. She was, pursuing a career, and she had somebody that she loved very much, and she was happy doing what she was doing. And so she didn't go there, but as client number 4 had stated, that when she was done with her time in 3D Earth, when she desired to move on, she could. She just wasn't ready yet. She didn't want to. She wanted to experience more of the 3D. She really just wanted to have that experience. And this is so the personality of client number 5 too. After talking with her and getting to know her, she really just likes experiencing things here on this planet. And it's actually why she incarnated. Her higher self told her that that's why she incarnated into this reality, was simply to experience, and that was all. And so she just wasn't ready to move on from it yet. So then I did my own form of I guess I started doing what some people consider shamanic journeying, but I kind of developed my own method with it, and it's kind of a form of self-hypnosis. But my guide took me to the new earth, and when I first came down there, I was trying to compare it to different feelings I'd had in the 3D earth, or different things that I've seen in movies or different pictures or whatever. And my guide said I had to let all of that go. Everything from my past, all of my mental constructs, I needed to drop, because this is something that I hadn't experienced yet on this, in this, my soul hadn't come to Earth yet. My soul hadn't been on Earth during the Garden of Eden, before the fall, or any of that. So I had only experienced lives here where I was in 3D Earth. And so my guide said, let all of that go, just drop everything, and just be present and be open to whatever happens. And so I heard children laughing, and I walk up, and I'm in the jungle, and I walk up, and there's 2 trees that have kind of grown together like this, that have a U shaped in them. And so I sit right there, and I'm seeing my children play in a lake down, kind of drop down in around the trees. And my daughter, she is almost 2, and she wasn't much older than that when I saw this. But I think the children get to choose their ages. They get to choose if they grow up in the new earth. That's according to client number 2. So they could have chose to regress. I'm not really entirely sure about all of that, but they were diving into the water and they could breathe underwater. And then when they wanted to come up, they would just rise themselves up. And as I was sitting there watching them play, I was making a flower for my youngest daughter. She just loves flowers. And so it reminded me of knitting needles. It's almost like I was weaving strands of light together, like knitting. And I formed this big flower, and I knew that it would live there and exist there forever because I created it. And then my guide told me, well, you created all of it. We all did. We all created all of it together. And so it would exist forever and everything would live and keep living. And so this flower that I made, I knew she could have it forever and it would always be alive, even though it wasn't like buried or planted. It was just a big, the head of a flower. And so I went on to explore the woods a little bit, and I saw my tree house, and I wanted to go up there, so I just floated up to it, and I went up there, and I thought, I kind of like this way, and so just with a wave of my hand, it changed, and I remember thinking, I have magic here. Ooh, I just loved it. I could make and do anything, and fly anywhere or transport, and we spoke with telepathy, and my husband was there, and he was loving the magic, and we were just in bliss. It was just so beautiful. And so when I left there, I went back up into the space where I speak with my guides, and this one particular guide that had guided me down there, he kept telling me that I must release the past to be fully present to secure the future. So that to me meant I had to let go of everything, every mental construct, every wound, everything from every past life, everything, so that I could be fully present. And by being fully present and being in my highest vibration at all times, that secured my future there. And so, okay, sorry, I'm back. My phone went dead. Just was gonna give a quick wrap up here. If you are interested in seeing the new earth, check out my video, Journey to the New Earth. And as I said before, I highly recommend a QHHT session for anybody who is serious about clearing out the baggage and letting go of the past, embracing your power in the present, so that we can manifest this new earth as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I just cannot sing its praise enough. QHHT has changed my life, and it's changed the life of many people that I know. It's the fastest, easiest, most efficient way I have found of clearing out loads and loads and loads of garbage in a very short amount of time. And so if you are interested in a session, there are so many fabulous practitioners out there. I am located in Montana, near the beautiful town of Bozeman, but if you visit the QHHT official website, it's www.qhhtofficial.com, you can search practitioners by your area. So yeah, bring on the healing, bring on the joy, the goodness, embrace it in the present, and it'll secure your future. So go forth with love, with happiness, with joy, with vibrance, and I will see you in the new earth. Bye.